Welcome back, YouTube. Aaron from Killer Koncepts Global here, accompanied by Vanessa and the Lightsaber Samurai.
Hey.
Today we want to do a little bit of a discussion, really going into the topic of social unrest here in America. We're in the state of Kansas, and we just wanted to kind of share our roles and what we would kind of do if that situation occurred.
We had wrote out a list of kind of questions and scenarios. The first would be as far as early prep. How do we feel about prepping ahead of time? If you watch a lot of documentaries with things like that, self-proclaimed preppers, they describe it as a lifestyle, a constant lifestyle of preparedness and always being ready. So just what are your thoughts on that?
And going a little bit more into that, occupational wise, I've since joined the Kansas Army National Guard. I'll receive training as a soldier, logistics and radio operations and things like that. Vanessa here is going to school for a chef, which I think will play a major role if things kind of got bad. Prepping food, food preparation, things like that, keep morale nice. And then you in the retail world, kind of managing people and item management and allocations for how much per the person and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's all will be, vital skills that'll come in handy when things start to get bad.
Mm-hmm. I should mention that I'm pretty terrible at our store's inventory, but that's besides the point. It's besides the point. So yeah, going back to the original question, what are your thoughts on that as far as?
So really I'm thinking, we're sitting here, you see it on TV, you might hear it on the radio, things are starting to change. We're seeing the signs of something really major going on here in America, whether if it's the upcoming election, whether if it's the threat from World War III or just a natural disaster. Just wanted to go into depth of what we would do realistically if that began to happen. Now, we both live pretty close to each other, same side of town, so we probably rendezvous and link up. Unfortunately, if something like this were to happen after January, then I would be activated and primarily part of the relief effort, and I may not be here per se to help. Right. So I kind of want to just get grounded of what we could do to be prepared for that situation.
Okay, and so you're right. So you want to plan out a course of action, and there are others that do similar professions, whether it be the National Guard, the military, whether they're first responders, firefighters, paramedics, police officers, and speaking with just other people from those separate occupations over the years, I've heard a lot of them say something to the effect of, well, my family, they have a predetermined plan of action, kind of similar to growing up in school and you had like the fire drills or tornado drills, and basically that's what it is. It's a drill. It's practice. Just hands-on practice. So it becomes like a routine and an automatic response in a situation like that. So especially for you, and being that you have a family, probably something you'd want to think about as far as having a plan of action. What would something like that look like for you?
Taking a military approach on it, maybe break it down into 3 phases. And the first phase would be to get prepared to go, because once things change, I anticipate that there would be checkpoints, and the military and the government would step in and kind of tell you what you can and what you can't do. A lot of people who are fearful of their firearms being taken away and things like that, like they saw in Hurricane Katrina, they were ordered to take arms away from civilians. This would be when that kind of plays in, and you may see Big Brother get more involved with civilians, And
so it'd be basically like they'd basically be declaring like a state of emergency,
right,
at that point. Or in some more extreme cases like Katrina, they might declare like martial law.
And that's why I was thinking it may be imperative for us to actually try to flee before it gets to that point so that we can have our freedom and exercise our liberties as far as having our firearms and having a safe haven to go to and kind of ride it out. And then we can return once things calm down. It'll be a little bit different. Like I said, I have two small children and a dog and a cat and my significant other. And then we have our families. Fortunately, our family, her extended family is directly next door to us. We got a couple of large vehicles. Most likely, probably just load those vehicles up and then get out of town as soon as possible. After, rendezvous, and then we'd probably have to rally in almost like a convoy. Like we would just all in line and just go systematically. What do you think?
I agree.
Yeah, and I agree too. Like I said, whether the situation, if we're talking about civil unrest, I know, oddly enough, the governor had recently declared October, what was it, like Zombie Apocalypse Month or Preparedness Month or something silly like that, I guess, to take people's mind off the fact that he's, bankrupting our state and making us pay for it on the backs of our children. But that's besides the point. That's besides the point. I will declare it Zombie Apocalypse Month because everybody watches The Walking Dead. But that does raise a question. Well, I don't think the dead are going to rise anytime soon and start eating people. Real world pandemics are, more within the scope of possibility. So, I mean, civil unrest, you'd be thinking of things like riots or, like maybe something, a riot from like an assassination or something like that that's come across. And we've had many in recent years, and we were talking about this even within the last half century or so. And so I'd like to think that the government has a pretty well thought out response for situations like that. And you see it, civil unrest in situations like that don't last more than a few days. I think the Rodney King riots were the longest ever. So, and I was thinking that, if we couldn't immediately get away, the best thing to do would be maybe to hunker down in a safe place and ride something like that out. But then on the flip side, if you're looking at something like a pandemic or, something that might turn out to be more long term, then evacuation would probably definitely be the best course of action, but really important to see the warning signs of that early on. As soon as danger becomes imminent, then you want to put your course of action in play at that moment. So.
And that's sort of why I've been kind of almost secretly prepping and kind of just getting things in order so we have a few supplies and things like that here and there if we have to stay put for an extended period of time. I'm not arrogant enough to think that I could just go and fight off marauders forever and risk my neck when I have a family. So being invisible would be key. And just sitting here and almost pretending that we're not here while things are going on and wait for it to come to us before we react to it if we're planning on staying here, for a period of time. If we were to flee, then I think I would take more of an offensive approach to ensure that we escaped the city. Once we were out of the city limits, we could set up. There's, a farm in the family. There's a few other places where we could, potentially hold up and regroup at. And,
Yeah, because the city's going to be the most dangerous place.
Especially being the largest city in Kansas.
Yeah. Okay. So going back to kind of like hunkering down, what would that look like for you? Would you try to do it here? Do you have a secondary place in mind that's close by? What would that look like for you as far as trying to stay in place?
I think initially we would try to stay here because this is our home, but if worst comes to worst, like you were saying, we do have a farm that we would go to in the family. and it's on the outside of town, so.
Yeah, potentially I would try to hold it down here, but there's a lot of entry points into a standard home. There's multiple levels, and it'd be pretty hard to defend it. Fortunately, it's mostly brick, so we won't have to worry too much about fires. People will prepare a lot of IEDs and things like that if they're in a lawless situation. But I'll be worried about the windows. And that's why I would almost make it seem as if we weren't here while we were here, so nobody would have a reason to suspect that there'd be anyone here.
Yeah, because that's true. If you go around boarding everything up and more or less sealing everything up, they're gonna realize that it's inhabited, and that might make you a target. However, on the flip side of that, though, if you see everything open, they might come in anyway to see if they can score some quick supplies or food or whatever the case real quick too. So
they have to choose, if they're aggressive, what to do. Whether if that's potentially a fight or just a simple talking to them, or there may even be people just seeking refuge that maybe you could take in and help each other.
But you can't trust everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially with the Badlands being so close.
Yep.
So.
Also, some woods very nearby, and we have things like a 6-man tent, firearms, and things like that. But if worst comes to worst, I think the best bet would be to get into the big vehicles and just leaving the city.
Major highways, or is there like an alternate path that maybe doesn't cross like some of those major highways?
It seemed to be out of question just for the fact that they would most likely be congested, and we would be open, easy targets up there. Thinking, a longer but more
secure and safe route.
Yeah, we want to be quiet and just kind of get out in the middle of the chaos. The back streets, regular roads, things like that. We want to stay away from landmarks. We want to stay away from highways. Yeah, see, for us personally, the biggest hurdle will be our small children. It's not as simple as just getting guns, getting some food and water, and then just waiting it out.
Right.
And that'll be the hard part. 'Cause children, they get bored fast.
Restless.
They're loud. And they don't exactly understand the severity of any given situation. And that'll be something that we'd have to persevere through with coaching and just training and just understanding you really just get one shot at pulling this off successfully. If there's really trouble outside and things are really going on, then we're just going to have to really pull together as a family. I think our biggest asset would be to strengthen our numbers between our two families united. A lot of different backgrounds, different occupations, things like that. We just have to stick together and really just hold it down, hold it tight. If worst comes to worst, our secondary option would be to potentially leave. In my opinion, I would probably take on a larger role in the aspect of that because I would feel that security and the offensive would be more of my stepping stones.
And you have more training.
So we would get into our vehicles, trucks, SUVs, large vehicle in the front, large vehicle in the back, children in the middle, and we'd almost have like a caravan, a convoy. And once we get going, we're not going to stop until we get to our destination. Unfortunately, there's more morals coming into that, whether if we're going to stop to help people or things like that. In my opinion, regardless of how it sounds, unless it's children involved, I'm not going to stop for anyone. Just for the simple fact that if I was a nefarious person, that's what I would use to booby trap good-hearted people. And my first priority is getting my family to safety before I go to fix the world's problems, So it'll be a real gut check situation, and I'll just do whatever it takes to make sure that everybody is safe in my family before we could really try to help. Granted, if that's, if I'm not part of the relief effort within my unit.
Okay. So I think that's going to do it for this half of the video. Like I said, this is just kind of talking about initial steps to take in situations of civil unrest. In the next video, we will talk about initial steps to take in a more serious situation, like a large natural disaster or a pandemic situation, things like that. So once again, I am the Lightsaber Samurai.
Aaron from Killer Koncepts Global.
And Vanessa.
And we hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, favorite, subscribe, and we will see you soon.
All right, thank you.